I'm sad, okay? It is, without question, incredibly hard to be a Miraculous fan right now. Being a Miraculous fan is like being a freaking Barcelona fan right now. Well, no, I mean, the man who only had his best interests at heart got arrested, and we are glad. But the point is, if you see how the team is performing and compare that to the quality of Miraculous, you would see that there is no difference. We know fully well that what we are supporting can be good, but then terrible decisions are made that completely hinder any development. Take Chloe, for example. She is the resident brat in the show, being all stuck up and abusing the power that her parents spoil her with so they don't need to watch her anymore. She was responsible for a lot of the Akuma attacks that took place in Paris, but then Season 2 came around and gave us some much needed redemption. She started learning the importance of a good heart, and that could be attributed to how she was literally Ladybug's #1 fan and idolizes her. But then, Season 3 came. The worst of them all. And it pissed me off. How did it do this? Well, Miraculous is an episodic Monster of the Week type show, meaning every episode could be a random villain who is introduced into the plot. They may or may not have anything to add to the overall narrative. So you could pick up any episode of Miraculous and you could get the general pattern of how the show is. But, like I said, the villains may or may not add anything to the narrative. When something important happens, we may have to wait multiple episodes for any sip of the plot soup because they keep feeding us bread and it starts to make our tongues dry. Our hunger to watch further lessens as we become more impatient, and there is a reason for that. Let's face it, the show is becoming a franchise at this point. Look at the movie they released recently. That shows you everything you need to know. I think that this is ultimately going to be this series' demise. The episode order is fricked. It also has one of the worst release schedules I've ever seen. These things tend to come out at the most random times, and it's very easy to miss them. Not that most of them would be important though, since almost every episode has to involve some random schmo off the street. This is leading into my biggest beef with the show. Chloe. She regressed in the most unforgivable and forced way I have ever seen. It's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. She was actually becoming a better person, but no, she had to feel left out that her idol wanted her to not be a hero for her safety. Now she can be the reason for every single Akuma attack from now on, like she used to be. If they honestly wanted another Akuma auto farm, they could have just used Lila, who is very manipulative by the way, and it was already established that she and Gabriel were conspiring so that he could get more Akuma victims.
But then again, that idea would make sense, so why would they do that? Why would they do that? It makes sense. Why would they do that?
All these bad decisions made me come to terms with something. Something that I feared happening in any fandom imaginable. You could basically call this version 2 of my fanfictions video that I deleted. I decided to make this video because A, Ordinary Dreamer brought up some good points about the show, and B, after I heard said points, I was like, well crap. If what she said was thought out, then that means I had an epiphany. Some of the cringy fan comics that I read are actually better than Miraculous in its current state. These comics contain concepts that would have made Miraculous more marketable to a broader audience instead of just children, because they are concerned with building interesting and well thought out narratives. They also have some tonal shifts that aren't too intense for a show like Miraculous. I will only be critiquing the writing and not the artwork, and to help me get better at my job, I'll take advantage of what I've learned in drama. I'm not sure if I said it before or not, and I'm not going back to watch my old video on this because I don't want to die from cringe, but Alia has been done dirty. She is one of the most intelligent characters in the show, and yet she can't figure out her best friend is a hero, what her boyfriend is. It baffles me. That's where Reina Rouge in the Case of the Prisoner, by Diehard, comes in. It encompasses something that makes me so proud of this comic. It takes both advantage of Alia's best qualities, being her intelligence but most of all her curiosity, and also Reina Rouge's abilities of deception through illusion. It builds the really compelling narrative of Alia breaking into the Agreste mansion under suspicion of Gabriel having knowledge of what the Fox Miraculous would look like in its active state. This fan comic for Miraculous fans is nothing but thrilling throughout. Alia, being the narrator, asserts her and indeed lets you know that she is in charge of her own investigation without having to rely on Ladybug. She's very much capable of doing this on her own. Then a slip-up happens. She sees Cat Noir leaving Adrian's room, which makes her come up with some witty theories before concluding that he is indeed the big flirt himself. This deductive reasoning is something the show is missing, and because of that, people like my older brother still struggle to understand when I explain the freaking rules of the show to them. She busts into Adrian's computer and finds nothing. Then Reina Rouge's specialty comes in. Illusion. She transforms into Adrian and goes to Gabriel's computer. She still finds nothing incriminating on him, which just adds to his overall menace in the series. If not even the smartest character in the show going out of their way to find out what this man is hiding can pull it off, then what does that say about Hawkmoth as a villain? Natalie almost busts Alia, but she comes up with a very believable excuse about homework. Tension is also built through dramatic irony. We, as well as Alia, know the meaning behind her words as Adrian, but Natalie doesn't. But since we also know that Natalie is also very capable herself and could see through a charade like this, it says a lot about Alia pulling this off. It's a commendable feat to say the least. Even though the main focus of the comic was to cancel Gabriel Agreste, we all know that the true prisoner all along was Adrian. Alia could see how lonely he was, but she could also see how he had kept all of Marinette's gifts, and she made a pretty wholesome conclusion about him. That's where I stop. This fan comic is honestly the best Miraculous comic I have ever read. It has darker tones, which the show should definitely have. It has a compelling mystery, and best of all, it gives Alia a much bigger role within the story, other than being Marinette's friend who helps out from time to time. It doesn't play dumb and definitely knows Alia's strengths as a character. Now I'm going to talk about the furry and buggy situations. My biggest issue with these ones is that they are not finished. Part 2 seemingly ends out of nowhere in an unsatisfactory position, so please Ipku, tell me why you haven't finished. Anyways, I personally enjoyed these stories not for the romantic aspects of the story, but because of how hilarious and serious it can be. Miraculous clearly has anime inspiration, and this comic embraces that to tell us the story of how Chat Noir deals with a broken Miraculous that is making him go through some Sonic Unleashed type crap. He turns into a freaking wereshat, okay? Now for some more detailed context, the cat Miraculous is damaged and Adrian is slowly but surely turning into a cat. Again, the dramatic irony is pretty top notch as we see Adrian and Plague being the only ones who know about the condition that he's going through and everyone else is clueless. This led to some very entertaining interactions between Marinette and himself. One where Adrian is trying to hide his cat-like characteristics, and the one where he is Cat Noir, not doing his best to keep a secret. I mean, the dude literally said that he is Adrian, and you know what? I'm not even mad that Marinette didn't even believe him. It's more plausible than what's going on in the show with why they can't know each other's identities. They created the context that Cat Noir isn't doing so hot and he's in a fever dream-like state, so if he tries to say anything, they'll brush it off since he isn't in the right state of mind. Boom bam bap bada bap boom pow, they fixed the cat Miraculous with a remote, and for once everything didn't work out with a lucky charm. Marinette actually took some hospitalizing damage, which just made the stakes and safety of them being heroes more grounded in realism for me. I mean, Shat finds out Marinette is Ladybug afterward, but it just felt so justified. Now Buggy situation. This is basically Marinette's turn to become a were-creature, but again, it isn't finished! I mean, Tiki finds out that Adrian knows that Marinette is Ladybug since he knows exactly what to do to help her out, but it just stops there. Build-up is on hold. Consequences are on hold. My life is on hold. It's a pretty interesting concept that the show could probably use. If it became darker, I'm gonna keep emphasizing that. Ipclu clearly knows what they wanted with the story. Again, please tell me why you stopped. If you want to, of course. So as we all know, one of, if not the most important aspects of Miraculous is its romantic subplots. Originally with this video, I wanted to abstain from choosing any romantic Miraculous comics, but then realized that this is a fandom we're dealing with. Romance is going to be the majority of what the fanfictions are. Then slowly but surely, I realized what I wanted to do with this video. I realized that what I wanted to do with this video was highlight the fact that what I want from Miraculous is very simple. I want side characters that are close to the protagonists to have even more importance within the show, because I'm going to be honest, a lot of them may be very cool and dear to us, but they're not very interesting. Giving them a Miraculous doesn't fix this issue, it's just fan service at this point. I also emphasized, and I am going to continue emphasizing, that Miraculous deserves to be written with a slightly darker tone. Unfortunately, for that to even happen, a full series reboot is required because of the tone it has already set for itself. At this point, everything I've spoken about so far is just a fantasy of what could have been. Lastly, I wanted to find a fan comic that highlights the best direction for the romantic subplot to go. The answer is none of them. I mean, I enjoyed Rainy Nights a hell of a lot, especially since I dubbed it with my friends on a Google Meet, which to be honest, I wouldn't mind going back to edit if I just removed the part where we dubbed one artist's comic because they were very strict about being asked for permission to monetize using their work via fair use. Oh my gosh, why did I write such a long sentence? It's just, I don't get any satisfaction from the romance in Miraculous anymore. Mostly because Marinette isn't a functioning human being when it comes to Adrian. I know the show really wants to cater to its child audience by giving Marinette's crush some comedic effect sometimes, but sometimes it gets out of hand and I get thrown out of the immersion. I especially felt that at the beginning of the New York special with Mari's attempt to get over Adrian. I didn't need to see this, it just makes me cringe deep inside. This largely affects why I think fan comics will not necessarily give me a satisfactory voyage for the ship. The direction the show is going doesn't really complement the time frames these fanfics are set in, and they also include stuff like Ladybug and Chat Noir going on patrols, which is something that really doesn't happen in this show. They would usually only be heroing if the time was nigh. There is also a large trend of Shot shipping being a large thing. This encompasses Shot getting over Ladybug, and instead of going for Kagami like how the show is doing right now, he instead spends his nights with his Princess Marinette where they talk about their feelings and junk. Slowly Shot falls for Mari, but then she drops the bombshell that she likes Adrian. But Adrian is Shot, so that really messes up his mojo. Like, I can never ever see this happening in Miraculous, and it pains me to see such a neat idea that can't get implemented into the show, since now hear me out here. It is not dark enough. I'm running that joke into a wall at this point. Let's wrap this up. And that would be that, viewers. Now I would like to address something. Somehow, my poorly made Miraculous video has the most interaction out of every single video I have ever created. It's kind of bittersweet for me. I basically recycled what a lot of people were saying in a huge ranty video and didn't really put a lot of effort into making my own points. However, when I go back and see the comments people are leaving, I'm willing enough to say what I think now in a more thought out and based fashion. I'm trying to formulate my own opinions out here and add a bit of expertise. My original goal for when I revived my channel would be analyzing stuff on a surface level and evolving over time. I feel like my Kumi video shows that that is slowly coming to fruition. Tangent aside, I would like to say that my love for Miraculous is unchanging. I will remain loyal to the show no matter what happens. I am going to be patient. I mean, it isn't the 7 Deadly Sins breaking my heart and just making me go read the manga. This is primarily a TV show, and I have no other legitimate ways of consuming the canon, but that what makes the fan comics a whole lot better. They fully realized the potential the show could have had if they didn't try to become a franchise, but instead an engaging and well thought out narrative that could have been enjoyed by anyone. So all I really want with Miraculous is just for it to make do with what it has already done, and maybe in the future we could have a hard reboot where all the original intentions of the show could be brought back. I mean, this show was originally going to be 2D, and I mean, a lot of potential could have gone into that. It would complement Marinette's nervousness by being able to perfectly exaggerate her emotions when she is within 1 meter of Adrian. We could simplify Ladybug's design even further so that we don't get that seizure-inducing strobe effect that was complained about originally. Think about it. A studio like Trigger would be perfect for animating something like this if we use these clips from the original 2D concept as reference. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe Season 4 will fix a lot of the stuff that I am complaining about, or just make me happy by giving me something I never knew I wanted. But for now, since things are kind of going south, I'ma just rewatch some of those fan dubs and, you know, play some Terraria. I'm Magasha, and have a good week.
Woo, damn, hurry, woo. Diamond been flurry, woo. Taking my money, woo. Woo, yeah, hurry, woo. Diamond been flurry, woo. Taking my money, woo. We make a movie, boo. Yeah, going 8 like nigga. Move out the way, please don't be a hero. Bling, loud, change on skateboard, please. Bling.